got one gift left. One gift left tonight. And then we have another gift tomorrow night. Why are they important? You should be able to quote this now because the overall spiritual health and maturity, you're looking to be a healthy, mature church that is unified. In that unity, you're teaching others how to function as a church. That's important. All those young people sitting back there in the back, they see you doing the work of the ministry. That's how they learn from it. And it functions efficiently while you're pleasing the Lord and being obedient and good stewards of the gift. So we're to ruler, and I'll speak a little more freely in this area because I am a gifted ruler. I don't mean gifted as in I'm the best. I mean that's how God has gifted me, so I get it. Some of these other gifts, when I touch on them or teach on them or talk about them, I'm trying to stick to the slides because I'm not a great empathizer. I don't always know what you go through in challenges or in characteristic, but this one is very much in my wheelhouse. And so if you think you're a ruler or you desire to be a ruler or you're hoping the result comes out in that area, here's the way in which we define that. The ability to lead others in meaningful endeavors, which demonstrates personal care and concern in order to meet the needs of others and encourage their growth. A ruler, and everyone stumbles on this one gift because they think a ruler means a dictator, means a tyranny, like a firm-fisted type of ruling. And this word is used in other places in the Scripture. A pastor is to rule his own home well. That doesn't mean an iron fist approach. It means that he can lead others. A pastor is to lead his wife. A pastor is to lead his children. It doesn't mean he forces them into his will or God's will. It means he's leading them through that. This is what a ruler is. They lead, and there's a number of ways in which they do it, but they're trying to, if you've never tried to lead a group of volunteers, it's a very, very difficult endeavor. And so leading others in meaningful endeavors, and of course by that what we mean is the ministry. Here's a purpose of a ruler. God's grace gift of ruler to the church is for the purpose of organizing the church with a vision to lead and motivate God's people to accomplish His will. Let all things be done decently and in order. The thing I tell our church all the time, you've got all kinds of pastors, but the only thing that really defines a pastor is their grace gift. Because the way in which I enact my gift to the church, because I'm just one member of the body. Yes, I have a calling on my life, and I fill an office as an under-shepherd, as a pastor. That is my calling, but not all pastors are the same. And I know that's an obvious statement, but why is it that some pastors seem different than other pastors? Well, you are being led by someone who has a gift that's trying to enact that gift to you. So in our church, for example, and I don't mean this haughty, we are obviously a decently and ordered church, but we might not be the funnest church. If you need someone that can cry with you, that's not going to be me. Now, there are folks in our church that will with you, and maybe I have a hard time being a merciful pastor, but our strengths of our church are the things that I own, the only things I know to do, which are the things in which God's gifted to me. And so let all things be done decently and in order. Here are the characteristics of a ruler. Motivates others to action. They don't dictate to action. They don't command to action. They motivate them. I will never pull the horse. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to lead you to the water, but you're going to have to drink it. And that's what motivation is. It motivates others to action. Because the truth is, if you're hard to be motivated, that's not on me. That's on you. And so a ruler understands, motivates others to action, clearly communicates. The pastors in the room, well, they probably know Brother Jim, right? Jim Alter. Jim Alter says this: tell everyone all things all the time. Now, I don't know if he's a gifted ruler, but he has this idea that you just have to continue to clearly communicate until they they want to punch you in the face because they've heard it too many times. Not just in that I ought to speak clearly or enunciate my words. It's to say it in a way that you could regurgitate it yourself. Thrives and happily receives authority when given. Everyone thinks the ruler means you are the head of everything in the room, and that's not true. As you've heard, and it's been quipped, the best leaders are the best followers. And so a ruler's characteristic is that you thrive and happily receive authority when given. I tell people, I don't know that I'm great at anything. Probably nothing except one thing. I am the best at being obedient when told something. I'm not saying I don't have my seasons where I can be rebellious or I'm just discouraged or I just don't feel like it. But when I want to be obedient, no one can out-obedient me. That's it. I don't know if that's my 8 years in the military. I don't know if that's in the military home I grew up in. I don't know. I don't know. I just know that I can be really good at putting myself under authority. And at the end of the day, all of us are under the authority of God. And we ought to want to have those things. But as a ruler, you're the best at them. Dislikes the mundane routine. Listen, my church, they are very patient with me. I do not like the mundane. Most people don't like change. I embrace it. I love it. I think you either have change or you are mundane. Those are the two options for me, nothing in between. So every opportunity I get, we have chairs like you have chairs. Probably every 6 months or so, I'll just go in before the next Sunday and rearrange all the chairs into a different order. And man, they love to come in and try to, Pastor did it again. Now I don't know where I'm going to sit. I lost the seat that has my name on it. But do you know why I do that? Not to frustrate our church, but because I don't want things to be mundane to them. If you here, let me challenge you on something. If you sit in the same seat every week here at New Life, next week sit in a different one and tell me that the service doesn't feel different to you. Don't let it be mundane. As someone as a ruler, your characteristic is you dislike it. You don't want things to be status quo all the time. I want to be comfortable. I want to know that things in the room are the same, but I don't want them to be mundane. I don't want to be complacent. Naturally assumes leadership when there is a lack of it. If there is a lack of leadership in a situation, there's going to be someone who naturally rises, and that's most likely going to be the characteristic of a ruler. I don't know how many of you have ever done any of those sorts of corporate outings or retreat sort of exercises, but you get put in a group, right? How many of you have ever done those personality groups before? I know Jody has. And you're sanguine or whatever all those things are. I can't remember them all right now. But if you were to be put in a group and you were going to try to make a decision, right? Whenever I speak to just men, and the subject's supposed to be on doing things that are manly, I try to say to the men that I'm speaking to, I've done it at family camp at Brother Wiley's place, I've said to them, make a decision all the time because you are responsible to be the head. When the wife says, hey, what would you like for dinner? Say it. She needs you to be the leader. And what we do now, is she'll say, what do you want for dinner? I'm the worst at saying I don't care. Because honestly, I don't care. You could set soup in front of me, a sandwich in front of me. Obviously, I'll eat anything you put in front of me. I have no problems. I try to do better in saying this is what I want. But I usually get, I wasn't really feeling that. And then I make another command decision. Then we're going to eat where you want to eat. Because I said, I don't care what we eat. All right? Naturally assumes leadership when there is a lack of leadership. Takes on long-term projects. You're okay with the short term, and you can get those done fairly easy, but you want something that's going to last because you want to get in, you want to organize it, you want to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and you love to take on a long-term project. You're a visionary. You're someone that your pastor could come to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this ministry. And in 5 minutes you thought, well, we could do this and that, and that's how we could put this together. And you're a visionary. You're a ruler. It doesn't mean you're right about it, but you can see one, which is way ahead of where most people are with that. You can see how to get from A to B and all the obstacles in between. Has good networking abilities. We were having conversation last night, Pastor Wiley, myself, and your pastor. And every other word out of Pastor Wiley's mouth is, I have a guy. He's a networker, okay? He's a good networker. You can get things done because you have a guy. That's how a ruler is. If they can't do it themselves, they know who can get it done for them. And you have a great networking ability. You delegate well. Now, you have a challenge. I'm going to get there. I won't get ahead of myself. But you do delegate well. You understand it can't be done with yourself. And you're good at picking out people you know can help in certain areas and are good at certain things. Takes criticism well. If you're a ruler, you can take criticism well. It needs to be constructive criticism. No one takes complaints well. But criticism is easy for you if you're a ruler. Because what you're hearing in your mind, this is how I hear it, you're hearing this is something that needs to be honed in and done a little better. I'm okay with criticism. I don't want it all the time, but I'm glad for it when it comes because it sharpens me. And I see that as an opportunity for growth. Whereas some people, man, they get in the ditch when they get criticized and they don't know how to get out. It doesn't bother me. It's water off a duck's back and you move on. Is passionate and enthusiastic. Passionate and enthusiastic. You're 100% on that project. Everything is about that project. You love it. You want everybody else to love it. Enjoys accomplishing goals. I'll tell you, this has always been me. I didn't always know that was my gift. That's one of the things I enjoy about doing this, because I remember the first time I even ever was told what a ruler was. I had no idea. I knew it was me. I knew that's who I was, but I had never had anybody put it in a box for me. I never had anybody give it a name. And I was thankful to have a name. I was thankful to understand that God had gifted me in this way. But for years as a young pastor, I struggled because I was an accomplishing goals guy. I had checklists every day, all day long. And if I didn't have a checklist, I was making another one. And then I was making a checklist for my checklist. But what happened is someone would come in and need their pastor, which was me, but they weren't on the checklist. And then that bothered me. And I became more about accomplishing goals than I was accomplishing ministry. So that's going to come up. I'm ahead of myself. We're going to talk about that in challenges. But you enjoy accomplishing the goals. Checking that box is like a kid at Christmas for you. You're glad to have that done. Gives credit to others. Gives credit to others. That's not hard for you. If you're a ruler, you're glad for everybody to get the credit for it. I was trying to disciple a man one time in a church I was pastoring. And so I asked him to help me with our largest outreach of the year in our church. And it was because I knew he was passionate about the subject and the way the outreach went. And I felt like he needed to be encouraged. And so I would name him as someone to the church that if they could go to and they could get information from, and if they had a question, this was who they needed to go to. And I was trying to kind of disciple him and kind of trying to bring him along. And quite honestly, after about year 3, he had really never done a thing. I would delegate it, but then it wouldn't get done. And so then quietly I would have to do it, and so on and so on. But every year after the event, I'd say, Brother so-and-so, will you please stand up? Thank you so much for all the things you did. I don't need the credit. I don't need, if you're a ruler, you don't need the credit. You know that it's God's first and then everyone else's. And so meets challenges as they arise. you're not thrown, bucked off the horse. It doesn't, so, there's an obstacle that arises. John and I were talking, Pastor Hawkins and I were talking about that today. He had a plan. He's like, hey, after that great speech you gave on Sunday, no, that's not what he said. He said, I had a checklist today, Brother Adam. You'd have been so proud of me. He said, but early on, I got one phone call, derailed the whole checklist. But you're someone who knows how to meet the challenge when it arises. You know how to, listen, it's just a bump. It's not the Grand Canyon. It is surmountable. You can get past it, but you meet the challenge and it arises. Is a trained and capable leader. Is a trained and capable leader. Can I tell you something I learned in the military? I didn't learn a ton in the military, but I did learn this. There is no such thing as natural-born leaders. Every leader is a trained and capable leader. Someone trained you to lead, and then you lead while training someone else to lead. That's how that works. A trained and capable leader understands the big picture. You get the big picture. You love the details. I think we're going to get there, but you understand the big picture. And so you know what you're trying to accomplish in the end. You discard what does not work and keep what does. Every year. We've got 5 major events at our church every year that we do every year as the sun rises and sets. These are the 5 things we're definitely doing. And every year we'll do it slightly different than the way we did it the year before. And mostly because Jody and I will sit down after every event and we'll say, this didn't work, that didn't work, this did, we need to make sure that happens again. And we just sort of say, listen, if it didn't work, let's just not do it. The thought process for a ruler is not, well, that's how we've always done it, that's how we're always going to do it. You might as well be in a rut, which is a grave with the 2 ends knocked out. Because it's just not going to work. If it didn't work before, it's not likely to work again. Has an analytical approach. I hate this about myself. I don't know if any of you rulers out there are this way, but you're analytical about everything. You think it through. My dad ingrained that into me. I was not raised in a Christian home. I was raised in a good home, but not in a Christian home. And my dad said, he would tell me all the time, every time I got in trouble, which I'm sure is hard for you to imagine. I'm not as perfect as I seem. I got in trouble all the time. And when I got in trouble, my dad would say, son, if you'd have thought it all the way through to the end, you wouldn't have done this. And you know what he did? He taught me to think it through all the way to the end. You know what we call that? Analytical. I don't get it right every time, but if I'm going to make a decision, I'm going to think, well, what's going to happen? What are the possibilities? That's why James and I are such best friends, because we're oil and water in this area. Okay? I'm the analytical one. Listen, we are there's so much of our lives that parallel. And I think we were talking about this at dinner last night, is that Jody, here's what we say. James said this last night. We say the same thing in our house. Jody is the dreamer, and I am the dream crusher. She's like, let's do this. This would be fun. And I'm like, we can't because of this, 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 and this. And you know what she says now? Oh, you couldn't just let me have it for 5 minutes? It was so fun. It was such a fun idea. I know you're right, but it was so fun before you ruined it. James is the same way. James is like, let's do this. This would be fun. And I'm thinking, but we can't. And here's all the reasons we can't. But yes, it would be fun if we could do all these things. All right? An analytical approach to the things that you do. Here's your challenges, ruler. You may have trouble dealing with opposition. And I don't mean, we already talked about obstacles. Obstacles aren't your problem. Opposition, if you're not careful, you'll have trouble dealing with someone who doesn't see the big picture the way you see it. You have opposition from others like, well, I don't understand why he's in charge of this, or I don't understand why we're doing it this way. Because the truth is, here's the truth. Jody and I, when we were blessed to build that building 7 years ago or 8 years ago, whatever it was now, every time we'd go out to get something the contractor asked us to do, like he said, okay, go to this store and pick out carpet. The first thing the carpet sales guy said to us is, okay, we'll take this sample back to your committee and let us know if this is what you choose. I said, okay. Is that the one you like, Jody? Okay, our committee said it was great. He said, but you didn't go anywhere. I said, I know, because we're the committee. Because here's what I've learned in 25 years. And I don't know, you do something for 25 years, I guess you learn. All of you would pick a different color than I would. All of you would. And none of us are wrong. How many of you understand that? It's okay that you like the color you like. You wouldn't have chose the color of this carpet. You might not have chose the color of those chairs. But somebody had to. And so a ruler struggles and challenges understanding that they have trouble dealing with opposition, because you're thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's going to wear out eventually. Let's pick your color next, if it means that much to you. And so, listen, when I took over Liberty Baptist Church, we were known as the Purple Church. We had this, how many of you have ever seen Barney? I don't even remember the Barney show. We had Barney purple carpet and Barney purple chairs. Dalton picked that out. Well, listen, when he did that, I was still on staff with him. And he was so excited about that remodel. And every accent had purple in it. And I'm like, what are we doing? He said, I want it to look like a fancy hotel in Chicago. I said, well, I guess I don't know, because I've never been in a fancy hotel in Chicago. But I would not have picked purple, okay? I wouldn't have picked it, but he picked it. And you know what I know? That at the end, when we got out of that auditorium and went into the new one, we had people saying, hey, could we cut up squares of the carpet and save it? Because my kids were married here. And my daughter got saved here. And so it was more than the color of the carpet. Man, I never got emotional at grace gifts before. But it's not about the opposition. It's let's get the decisions made and go forward. But if you're a ruler, you struggle with opposition because it's your vision. And so, that's a natural tendency for our flesh not to like it. It may become callous. You may become callous due to constant criticism. You just kind of put your head down and plow through, and you stop worrying about other people's feelings. And so you can become callous due to a constant criticism. Criticism's not your issue until it's constant. And then when it's just one thing after another, and everybody's an armchair quarterback, and everybody could do it better, but nobody else wants to do it, now all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I don't really care how you feel about it. And callousness can be your challenge. Overly concerned on the to-do list. I shared with you my early years of ministry. I was overly concerned about a to-do list more so than I was the people I was actually pastoring, and that was wrong for me. The people are exactly why I pastor, not the to-do lists. And so you get overly concerned on the to-do list. Sometimes you're unwilling to delegate. Earlier we said a characteristic is you delegate easily or well, or whatever the word is I use, but you delegate. You have no problems doing that, but you have a challenge sometimes that you get to a place where you're like, well, I just know what I want. It'd be easier for me to do it. Or I don't want it to get messed up, so I'm going to do it myself. Well, how do I know it's going to get messed up? How do I know that? Or why is it a big deal if I do it exactly like I think it ought to go and somebody else wants to do it the way they would do that? And so it becomes a challenge for you. You sometimes are unwilling to delegate because you just have it in your head, and it doesn't need to be an opposition. It doesn't need to be a criticism. It doesn't need to be anything other than exactly how you saw it, and that's definitely a challenge for you. Here's your uses. Any leadership or oversight role. If you're a leader, you're a great organizer. You're going to have calendars and to-do lists and checklists, and things are going to be in order, and you're a great overseer. You're a great trainer or instructor because you're someone who can train and instruct somebody to do it in the way in which pastor or whoever is already pleased with. You're a planner and an organizer. There's no reason you couldn't delegate an event and say, let's plan this out. What does Harvest Festival look like? What is VBS going to look like? you're going to want to plan it out. You're going to want to organize it. You're going to want to know what happens next and how do we get here. Creator of new ministries. This isn't true for me because I am a ruler, but I happen to know my two friends in the room, I don't believe are. I know Brother Wiley isn't, because we've done this at his church, and he tested out. He didn't know what his gift was until we did it at his church, and he's a gifted teacher. I know your pastor doesn't necessarily know at this point where he is. I don't believe it's a ruler. I suppose we could both be surprised by that. But it's but he might be able to say, he might be able to say, hey, I've got this idea for this new ministry, but I don't have the time nor the ability to be able to really organize it well and get it on its feet. And so he delegates it to someone like a ruler who can create a whole new ministry. They can do the research and they can put it down, and how's it going to work on our current schedule, and what time on Wednesday nights do we start it, and what time on Wednesday nights do we end it. And then you report to him, and he goes, man, that's amazing. That is great. This is exactly how I want to do it. And they're the kind of person who can create a new ministry, even though that wouldn't, everyone would naturally think, well, that's the pastor's job to do. How should I rule? Notice what it says to us in Romans 12. He that ruleth with diligence. This is different than waiting on, or even the simple on, right? Teaching on teaching. And the sorts of things that it told us before. This is ruling with diligence. We have to be diligent to do what we're gifted to do. You have to be diligent to organize. You have to be diligent to delegate and plan and do the things that are necessary. So here's the review. The ruler is one who does this. Has the ability to lead others in meaningful endeavors, which demonstrates personal care and concern in order to meet the needs of others and encourage their growth. You can put all the pieces together. You can take on meaningful endeavors, and you can make sure that these are the things that help. You can look at any project and say, this might be better if we did it this way. It's okay if we don't, but I'm just telling you, it might be more efficient if we do it here. It might be better if we take this away. Might be better if we plan this or start this at a different time. They can see big picture. They love the details, right? The details matter to you, but you can see the vision. You can see the big picture, and you love it. All right.